Hello everyone, I hope you guys are having a great day. So for today's video, I am going over my round 2 at the US Team Amateurs 2024. For your information, I will put the link to the tournament description as well as the time format in the description down below. After the nice win first round, we are facing a very strong team where I and my friend on board 2 are both playing National Masters. And a very strong 2274 master, and after I look at his profile, I saw that he played like 10 tournaments in the month of January, which means he is very serious and very strong. However, I finally have white against a high rated player, and I really hope to have a nice win since all the wins I've recorded so far are from the black side. With my current repertoire, I am very confident that I won't lose unless he plays something weird. So I started with the strongest move, d4. My opponent responded with knight f6. I went c4, and he went g6. And I was like, yes, it's either a King's Indian or a Grunfeld, which I have prepped very deep for, and I am 90% confident that I won't lose the game. So I went G3, which is my prep against King's Indian and Grunfeld. I was so happy since I haven't lost a single game with this setup against King's Indian / Grunfeld so far. And I'm ready to grind this game out. So my opponent went bishop G7. I went bishop G2. He castled. And in here, I think it should be a King's Indian because I went knight C3 and D6. So now it's officially a King's Indian defense, which I have prepared enough to at least guarantee a draw. And here I continue with knight f3, c6, and here I made, I wouldn't say a blunder, but it's, in my opinion, or in my prep, it's a blunder. And this is the moment I allow him to kind of equalize the game because of his next move, which is bishop f5. So what I should have done is to just go e4, and after e5 and castle, this is the setup that I really want. Or e5, I can go h3. This is the setup that I want. And if he does something, if rook e8 or knight bd7, then this is exactly what I want. However, I went castle, and he went bishop f5. And in here, again, prevents my whole setup, and I actually did not know what to do against this beforehand. So when I saw this, I'm already kind of angry at myself. I kind of castle out, like I blitzed the move to castle because I was too happy, and I didn't pay attention to the move order difference, which he didn't play knight bd7, which is why he could play bishop f5. At that moment, I thought that I could still play e4 somehow, which technically I could. However, I did not play it right. So in the game, I played, which is not the correct move. This move is equalizing, and the correct move is knight g5. And after h6, I just go e4, which is a very nice move. And because now there's no such thing as bishop e6. So, because after bishop g4, I just go back knight to f3. And here is forced to go back to probably c8. Or captures, and if captures and captures, then I am just better. But here after knight h4, he went bishop e6, and he gains a tempo here because he attacks my c4 pawn. And the way to retain some advantage here out of the opening is to play d5. In which kind of destroyed the purpose of having this bishop on this diagonal. Because after the takes and pawn takes, then bishop g4, let's say, then now my bishop is staring at the pawn. And this d5 pawn, sure, it will get supported later with e4, but I really don't like this position. So I opted to just play b3, but here just play d5, and the position is equal. And I continue with c5, which is an accuracy by me. However, I was doubting to trade pawns on d5 since he now has a bishop on e6, but I should have just gone for it. So say pawn takes, if pawn takes c5, it kind of achieves what I want. However, if knight takes c5, let's say he doesn't want to take with the c pawn, right? Knight takes c5, bishop takes c5, e4, bishop e6, bishop e3, and I should be fine here. Maybe my d4 pawn is a little bit loose, but I don't think it's too much of a problem. But here I play c5, and he simply just play b6. And here I thought for a little bit, and I mean I had to take because I can't go b4 due to just takes, or just knight a6, and I can't keep this tension forever. So c takes b6, a takes b6, and now black gets the open a file, and now my a pawn becomes targeted for the rest of the game. So here I went bishop b2, he went queen c8, trying to go for bishop h3 and traded with my fianchetto bishop. I thought for a little bit here and decided to go for an e4 center break, hoping that I can do something. It is not the best plan, but I don't really see anything at the moment. At this point, like I was like, I'm already like kind of angry at myself. So here I went rook e1, just trying to support e4 break. Bishop h3 is play, and here I was thinking of playing bishop h1, but then since my knight is already on h4, I figure like, okay, I kind of don't want to. I kind of fine to just trade. And also, if I keep my bishop on h1, I don't know what's going to happen after e4 breaks, right? Because then my king side becomes slightly weak. So here I just went e4. And it is actually a little sus by the engine. And my opponent actually agrees with it as well. Because we talked a little bit after the game, and he felt like e4 was not a good move. But then I thought that the worst case scenario is that I just sack my d4 pawn and fight for a draw. Otherwise, I don't see any other plan here. So we traded bishop. I took with a knight, and d takes e4. Knight takes e4. And here, he played kind of an interesting move, which is knight b d7. And after the game, he told me the reason he played this move is because of his last game against a grandmaster, where all his pieces were not developed at all. Like he said that he lost because of his lack of development. So then this game that he played me, he decided that he decided to go for full development. But the problem is 6. So now you look at my rook is staring at e7, right? If my knight moves, then this e7 pawn is being attacked. Of course, e6 just solved the problem. But here the thing is, after I take the knight, he cannot take back with the knight. And if he takes with the pawn, it just looks really silly. So he has to take back with the bishop. And now this knight here, it just stuck. It doesn't have any square to go. And here, after I took back on g2, I started realizing that the knight actually have some outposts on c4 and e5. Or eventually g4. So here I went for knight e3. And also by going knight e3, I can start some d5 plan immediately, or potentially. I also want to provoke e6 now, so I can do something else, like say after e6, right? Then I can look at knight c4 into c5, or I can look at knight g4, whichever works. Maybe force him back and then try to go knight e5, because knight g4 kind of comes with a tempo. And here he went rook e8. And he still doesn't play e6, which at this point really confused me. Because I feel like if I'm able to play d5 at some point, I have a much higher chance to draw the game. Since I know I'm definitely not better here. Like, in fact, this position has been equal for the last 6 or 7 moves. And my plan, I just go knight g4. Maybe I could have gone knight g4 instead of knight c4. But I was thinking simply, I actually want to play d5 here so that my bishop isn't hanging, because the d4 pawn is pinned to the bishop. And my opponent thought for 8 minutes here and play queen c7 with the idea of playing e5, or that's what I thought. And I guess that justifies why he didn't want to play e6 the whole time, or so to say, he forgot to play it, right? Because, I mean, if he plays, I think technically it's not too late to play e6, but at this point, it kind of doesn't make sense. And here, fun fact, I actually could have played d5. And after bishop takes, knight takes, c takes e5, queen takes e5, knight c5, white is completely fine here. I saw this, I calculated this, but I didn't like this position due to the fact that my queen is in the middle of the board and my rook is kind of tied down to this pawn, and then black gets a lot of activity, but turns out to be fine. Like, say, after knight c4, rook a d8, then I just go queen f3, and after e5, rook ed1, rook d4, rook takes, pawn takes. Sure, black gets a passed pawn, but actually it doesn't do anything because I will be able to hold it. But I didn't play it, and I play a4 instead, which is kind of a weakening move, but doesn't lose the game. It's still completely equal. It is minus 0.1, if I remember correctly. And here, after rook a8, I really can't play d5 anymore. So now I have to do something else, you know. And I was ready to give up the d4 pawn at some point. So here I went queen e2 with the intention of stopping e5. However, the better move was queen f3. But I didn't see why I would go queen f3, allowing e5. But he actually cannot play e5. So here's the line. After e5, pawn takes e5, bishop takes e5. It's a blunder. Knight takes e5, knight takes e5, rook takes e5. You don't take with the bishop, actually. Because after rook takes e5, you have queen f6. A brilliant move. And after black defense, you go f4, and you're going to be up a piece. Rook e6, bishop takes, and you win the game. But here, of course, I didn't see that, and I went queen e2 just to stop e5, and after quite a few moves, so knight f8, trying to go for knight e6 ideas, so, I'm sorry, for arrows, so I just go rook ad1, knight e6, and now I just go knight e5, kind of provoking trading, because I'm threatening knight takes f7, so he does have to take this. So bishop takes, pawn takes, rook takes e1, rook takes e1, rook to d8, and bishop c3. I didn't take first because my bishop was not in the best spot. And after c5, now I took. And here, I went h4, which turns out to be a mistake. Because here, I was actually scared of discovery or mating ideas with queen d5, knight g5, and knight f3 stuff, as you can see with the arrow. I was scared. So I play h4 with the intention of maybe having a square on h2. However, this gives a tempo for black on the queen endgame. And black is actually better. If black is playing queen d5 right away, black is better. I mean, if this move just makes black better, then sure, I'm fine just losing the game because I don't really understand it. But really, fortunately, my opponent didn't see it either, and he simply thought that I would try to do something on the king side. I mean, also I'm threatening h5, which actually after queen d5 I can't go h5. But he went h5 and blunder away his only winning chance in the game. And now this is a completely equal endgame with best play. And here I found the best move that I should have made the move before. Like instead of playing h4, I should have made it this move, which is b4. And after queen d5, I went queen d2, offering a queen trade because after queen trade, I can just trade the pawns on the queen side, and this is a draw because all my pawns are on the dark square, and my bishop just moves around, and I don't really lose the game. And here, of course, he declines the trade. We're going queen c4, which is a fairly tricky move because here black is actually the one with winning chances, and I have to find the best play, or I will not win the game. Or I will not draw the game. Sorry, I actually don't have a chance to win the game here. And here there are two lines that kept this game a draw, and I found the best one out of two, which is pawn takes c5. And after knight takes c5, bishop b4 is again the best move. And the goal here is if black takes the a4 pawn, then black actually loses because the bishop takes e7. And now the point is that now I get bishop f6, and now the king is on a mating net. And I have starting to have mating ideas, and this pawn is too slow. So say like queen c7, bishop f6, and I am much better. I'm threatening queen a6, and this is probably not very holdable. I think this is like almost +2 for white. But my opponent saw that, and he didn't want to deal with it. So after bishop b4, he just went king g7, avoiding any potential checks. But then I just trade. And after the queen takes c5, I just go queen f4, and this should be easy enough for me to hold a draw. Because if he takes with the pawn, I just start pushing a5. And now he has a pass pawn, and I have a pass pawn. So like both has to deal with it. Like queen b4, I just go queen d8, and because I have an e5 pawn, I actually have some perpetual idea as well. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm not winning, or maybe a5 wasn't the best move, but I will find something that just try to keep the draw. But here, there's really no tricks for him to play for a win. So we agree on a draw, and honestly, I was very unhappy with how I play out the opening because I should not allow like an equal position for no reason. However, you know, getting a draw against a very strong national master, I am still pretty glad because that, I don't know, that should be what's happening. I should have beat him, but I realized that like, okay, I should stop blitzing out openings as I'm seeing that I start to blitz out opening way too quickly without actually like really thinking about move order difference. Because at my level at this point, every move order matters since it's changed like into a complete different line in the opening. So ending the round, my friend on board 2 lost very brutally to the other national master, and we lost around 1.5 to 2.5. So thanks a lot for watching my analysis, and I will see you in the next video. Like and subscribe. Peace.